Welcome to the end of Jiho and Neo, Part 64. During that same week, Insu wanted Tumi to see a side of him few ever knew. It was late morning when he suggested they take the metro into Paris. Tumi had expected luxury cars, flashing cameras, and the gaze of people who recognized him. Instead, Insu pulled on a plain hooded sweatshirt, a cap low over his long-tied hair, and offered her his hand with a quiet smile. "We won't go in the way you imagine," he told her. "Here, I walk like this. No one knows me, no one looks twice." Tumi studied him, fascinated. "But why? Why hide when you have so much?" He met her eyes. "Because love, power, and riches are not everything. Sometimes I need to feel the heartbeat of ordinary life, the way people really live. Only then can I understand how to give without showing my name." So they descended into the Paris metro. The smell of metal and coffee, the rush of footsteps, the voices in many languages, it was all alive around them. Tumi walked close to him, their fingers brushing. She realized how naturally he blended in, greeting a vendor with a nod, buying her a paper ticket, guiding her through the turnstiles as if he had done it 1,000 times. On the ride, he spoke in a low voice. "Sometimes I go to language schools, not to study, but to listen. Many of the people there are immigrants, struggling to survive, hoping to learn French so they can work. I make friends with them. They never know who I am. Later, when I return home, I arrange their tuition or pay for their meals. They never know the name behind it." Tumi's throat tightened. "You do this without telling anyone?" He nodded. "Jiho knows. We started it together when we were younger, moving between Korea and France. But it has always been quiet, anonymous. Because if people see a rich man giving, they see pride. If they see a stranger giving, they feel grace." She gazed at him, her heart full. "Insu, you surprise me every day. You make me believe in more than I ever thought I would see." He smiled faintly, squeezing her hand. "You bring out the part of me that wants to be better." That afternoon, they walked through narrow streets where bakers arranged fresh bread in the window, where children kicked a ball between parked cars, where an old man sold roasted chestnuts on the corner. Insu stopped now and then, slipping a quiet bill into a cup, or buying food and handing it to someone who looked tired and hungry. He did it with no flourish, no expectation. Tumi walked beside him in awe. Her love grew heavier in her chest, almost too much to hold. "This," she whispered at one point, "is why I want to be your wife, because you are more than what the world sees." Insu turned to her, his eyes steady. "And this is why I want you beside me, because you see what I hide. You can see who really I am." The words sank deep between them, and for a while they walked in silence. Their steps matched. Their hearts felt as though they spoke the same language without words. When they finally returned to the villa that evening, Tumi kept replaying the images, the metro, the schools, the quiet gestures of giving. She thought of what she could add, how her heart for prayer and her roots from Botswana could merge with his secret work. Love had already bound them, now purpose tied an even deeper knot. The week had moved so quickly that it felt like a single breath of happiness stretched across 7 days. Every morning opened with something new. Every evening closed with laughter that lingered even after sleep. Tumi and Insu had spent their days in a rhythm that was both simple and unforgettable, building memories that carried the scent of forever. There had been the ride at the ranch, where Insu had guided her carefully onto the horse, steadying her with firm hands as she gasped and laughed at the same time. "I've never done this," she had cried out, clutching at him with both arms, half in fear, half in excitement. Insu only grinned, keeping her close against him, whispering, "Then today you'll learn, and you'll learn with me." By the end of the ride, her nervousness had melted into pride, and he teased her that she looked as though she had been born to ride. Other moments were softer, like when she cooked for him, insisting on preparing a dish from home. Insu sat at the table, eyes shining with curiosity, then with delight as the flavors touched his tongue. I used to tease Jiho about this food when he was in Botswana, he admitted between bites. But he never told me it would taste this good. Tumi's laughter rang out, bright and full of warmth, and she shook her head as though his praise embarrassed her. Now the day they had chosen had come. The morning of their wedding dawned clear and gentle, carrying with it the weight of promise. Tumi and Insu rose with anticipation, hearts beating with the knowledge that today was the day they would stand before family, before God, and before each other, to seal what their hearts had already spoken. The morning still carried its golden hush when Neo handed Tumi a delicate porcelain cup of tea. The bride's veil shimmered faintly as she lifted it to her lips, her hands steady despite the emotions that swelled inside her. But after only a sip, she pressed the cup back into her sister's hands, her face paling. "Neo," she whispered, "I feel like I'm going to be sick." Alarm crossed Neo's features as she guided her toward the bathroom. Tumi leaned against the cool marble sink, the veil slipping slightly over her shoulder as she rinsed her mouth with water. She looked at her reflection, her eyes wide. Then, almost without meaning to, she muttered, "My days. They're late. A whole week late." Neo froze, the teacup still warm in her hand. "Tumi, are you saying what I think you're saying?" "There's no way to be sure right now," Tumi replied softly, her fingers clutching the edge of the sink. "But I need to know." Without hesitation, Neo slipped out and found Jiho, who was waiting in the hall. She leaned close and whispered the situation to him. Jiho's eyes widened, his usually composed face breaking into boyish surprise. "You mean she might be pregnant?" he asked under his breath. "Yes," Neo nodded quickly. "But listen, don't you dare say a word to Insu until we know for certain. Please, Jiho." Jiho placed a hand over his chest, pretending to lock his lips, though his excitement was almost uncontrollable. "Fine, but I'll help. Leave it to me." He pulled out his phone immediately, dialing one of his trusted staff. "Go to the nearest pharmacy," he ordered briskly. "Bring me a pregnancy test kit. Discreetly. Deliver it at the back entrance within 15 minutes." True to his word, the small package arrived swiftly, passed into Jiho's hands without question. He carried it upstairs and pressed it into Neo's palm, whispering with a grin, "Even a groom deserves a special surprise on his wedding day, don't you think?" Neo rolled her eyes at him, though her lips curved with laughter. She slipped back into the bridal room and closed the door quietly. Handing the kit to Tumi, she said softly, "Here. Do it quickly." Minutes later, Tumi stood frozen, the stick trembling slightly in her hand. 2 bold red lines had appeared. Her breath caught as tears gathered in her eyes. "It's positive," she whispered, her voice breaking into both shock and joy. Neo clasped her hands, eyes brimming. "Tumi, oh, my sister, you're going to be a mother." At that moment, Jiho's phone buzzed. Neo had sent him only one word: positive. He read it and his heart surged so strongly he could not stay still. He pushed open the door and found both sisters glowing with tears and laughter. "Tumi?" Jiho exclaimed, striding across the room. "Congratulations! I couldn't keep it in." "You've given Insu the greatest gift. This is the happiest day of all our lives." Tumi laughed through her tears, startled but overjoyed. "Jiho, you weren't supposed to know yet." "I had to," Jiho said, still grinning like a boy. "Don't worry, I'll let you two tell him. But my heart, how could I keep silent?" Neo laughed, wiping her eyes. The bells outside began to toll just then, signaling the gathering of guests. Tumi placed a hand over her still flat stomach, wonder flooding her face. "I'm carrying his child," she whispered to herself. "And he doesn't even know yet." Neo hugged her tightly. "He'll know soon enough, and when he does, his joy will break the sky." Jiho stepped back reluctantly, his smile still broad. "Go. This is your moment. Walk down that aisle and give him the gift of forever, and later, the gift of a lifetime." With hearts soaring higher than any bell, they gathered themselves. Tumi adjusted her veil, Neo steadied her, and Uncle Molefe appeared at the door. the secret remained safe, but the joy had already begun to overflow. Evening settled warmly over the villa gardens, lanterns glowing among roses and ivy. Guests rose as bells rang, their eyes turning to the aisle. Toomey appeared, her white gown flowing like light itself, veil drifting softly around her face. Uncle Molefe held her arm proudly, while Neo followed in her emerald dress, already brushing tears from her cheeks. At the altar, Insu stood, his long hair tied back, his suit sharp, yet his eyes trembling with emotion. When Toomey reached him, Uncle Molefe placed her hand into his. Their fingers locked, and the world stilled. The officiant's voice carried gently. "Insu-han, do you take Toomey Molefe to be your lawfully wedded wife? Do you promise to love her, cherish her, stand by her in joy and in sorrow, forsaking all others, for as long as you both shall live?" Insu's gaze never wavered. "I, Insu-han, take you, Toomey Molefe, to be my wife. I promise to honor you, to cherish you, to walk beside you in every storm and in every sunrise. With all I am, I give my life to you." Toomey's lips trembled, her veil catching her tears. "And Toomey Molefe, do you take Insu-han to be your lawfully wedded husband? Do you promise to love him, honor him, in joy and in sorrow, in plenty and in want, for as long as you both shall live?" "I, Toomey Molefe, take you, Insu-han, to be my husband. I promise to love you faithfully, to honor you, to laugh with you and cry with you. With all my heart, I give myself to you." The rings were brought forward. Insu slid the band onto her finger. "With this ring, I give you my life." Toomey placed his ring on his hand. "With this ring, I give you my heart." The officiant lifted his hands. "By these vows and these rings, I pronounce you husband and wife." Applause swelled. But before the kiss, Toomey turned, accepting a small ribboned box from Neo. She pressed it into Insu's hands, her smile trembling. "A gift," she whispered. He opened it. Inside lay a folded note and a pregnancy test showing 2 red lines. His hands shook as he read aloud the words written in her hand. "To my dear husband, this is my gift to you today. We are going to be parents. You are going to be a father." The garden gasped. Insu's eyes filled as he looked at her, voice breaking. "Toomey?" "Truly." She nodded through tears. Joy burst from him. He lifted her into his arms, spinning her before setting her down gently and kissing her through the veil. The guests erupted in cheers, fireworks flaring above the villa as night embraced them. Their kiss was no longer only a seal of vows. It was the beginning of a family, the promise of love stretching into eternity. The applause still echoed as dusk deepened into night, lanterns glowing brighter across the garden. The announcement of Toomey's pregnancy had set every heart alight, and the air now buzzed with double joy. 2 vows sealed and a new life promised. Jiho rose first, raising his glass. His voice wavered, thick with emotion. "My brother, my friend, my family. Today you gained a wife, but also the greatest gift of all, fatherhood. And Toomey, my sister, you have given him a future none of us could imagine. May your love remain unshaken, as steady as the vows you spoke tonight." Neo followed, her eyes still red from weeping. "Toomey, you have always been my heart, and now I see you glowing brighter than ever. Insu, take care of her. Take care of my sister, and know that this family is your family too. May joy never leave your home." The crowd applauded warmly, glasses raised high. Toomey pressed her face into her hands, overwhelmed, while Insu kissed her knuckles tenderly, whispering, "We are blessed." The evening continued with music and laughter. The cake, tall and white with delicate gold trim, was wheeled into the center of the garden. Together they cut it, Toomey's veil brushing against his arm as they shared the first bite. Sweetness and laughter spilled together as the guests cheered. Then came the dance. The garden fell silent as Insu led Toomey onto the polished floor beneath a canopy of fairy lights. Music swelled, gentle and romantic. Insu pulled her close, one hand steady at her waist, the other holding hers firmly. Tumi's dress swept in graceful arcs as they moved, eyes locked as if the world had melted away. "I still cannot believe it," Insu whispered against her hair. "You are my wife, and the mother of my child." "And you are mine," Tumi murmured, her smile radiant. As the final notes faded, fireworks erupted above the villa. Brilliant bursts of gold, silver, and red lit the sky, mirrored in the tears shining in the eyes of those watching. The kiss they shared then was slow, full, and unguarded. The kiss of a man and woman whose lives had been bound together in love, faith, and now family. The night stretched on with music and dancing, children chasing sparklers and laughter ringing through the garden. Yet through it all, Tumi and Insu remained close, never straying far from one another, as though afraid even a breath might break the spell of the night. Guests whispered blessings, marveling at the beauty of the couple's story, while others prayed silently that such love might one day find them. It was their beginning, bright as the fireworks overhead, unshakable as the vows they had spoken. 2 years later, both Tumi and Insu, together with Neo and Jiho, organized a long-awaited trip to Botswana. This journey was more than just travel. It was a homecoming, a gift for their children, so they could feel the roots and rhythm of the African culture of their mothers. Their first stop was a place that held the heartbeat of their dreams, the grand church that Neo and Tumi had built together, a place raised from love and faith, where prayers and thanksgiving would echo for generations. It stood tall, beautiful, and timeless, a symbol of how far they had come and of the hands that held them along the way. And with this story, one lesson shines above all. Love does not ask where you are born, what language you speak, or what past you carry. It finds you when you least expect it, grows stronger through patience, and becomes unshakable when nurtured with trust. Thank you so much for following and supporting this page. Your presence has given life to every word, every moment, and every heartbeat of this story.